Okay, Kylie, next one. Curriculum guide changes.
So the next one is the curriculum guide changes. Ramona and Laura have seen these because these came up last year, but we wanted to wait until Dr. Freitas was seated so that we could get his input and stamp of approval as well. So we are proposing 4 new courses to the curriculum guide. There was a question that was submitted about what that impact has on our FTE and how do we find staff that are going to teach these courses. Under the impact section of each of those courses, I tried to articulate that it sounds terrible, but when we propose new courses, a lot of times our courses eat each other up. So we're proposing an advanced graphic arts class in applied arts. We only have so many students who have so much room in their schedule. So students taking advanced graphic arts might pull from students who are taking foods, or it might pull from students who are taking game design and animation. So that's kind of how that shift takes place. For example, one of the courses that we proposed was speech. A speech communications class. That's going to pull from our creative writing, from our debate. So it just ends up being that and the teachers know this when they submit, it kind of ends up, one thing eats another. And so we might have next year, if speech communications is something that a lot of students are like, yeah, I need to know how to do that, we might see our numbers in debate drop. But we don't see adding these new courses. We don't see a correlation between adding these and having to add new FTE to cover them. Another question you'll see in the proposed new courses, and I knew that this could be a little confusing, the college algebra STEM math question. So our current college algebra, right now, students sitting in college algebra, they are working on the curriculum through Triton to be able to get through that, get over the hump of that transitional math. Working with, and Lindsay Mina has worked a great deal with Triton in the state of Illinois to really make sure that we are meeting our requirements under the PWR Act for transitional math. With that now happening and that going into place and being a mandate as of last summer, we are now moving our current college algebra curriculum to the course entitled STEM Math. That is the course moving forward, so starting next year, that will help the students be placed in a credit-bearing math course at a community college. So that is the transitional math course, STEM Math. Since we had to go that route and we had to work within the boundaries of the state and that had to become STEM Math, we as a school wanted to bring back our old college algebra curriculum that we taught before we had to worry about what the state and Triton were doing. Because that curriculum was designed not for students who were in danger of placing into a Dev Ed math class, but for students who wanted a 4th year of math because they were going to go on to college, but they didn't want to take AP Calc BC or AP Stats. So we're bringing back the content of that course that we used and we felt was successful for those kind of tweener students, I guess you could call them. So now that we've shifted the current math class to STEM Math, we can bring back college algebra the way we knew it to be in the past. And Lindsay and I were talking today about this again, and she is currently working with Triton to figure out how we can make this new college algebra, our old curriculum that we're bringing back, a dual credit option as well. If we can get that going with Triton College, all of our, and I hope I'm saying this right, Lindsay, I know you're watching at home, all of our 4th year math classes would bear a dual credit opportunity. So any student who went into a math class, if we can get this through, and I believe that she can do it. If anybody can, she can. That will then mean that if you're a senior taking math at RB, you're getting college credit for it, regardless of what class you're taking. And that's really important for us. So that's kind of, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, I wanted to make sure that I explained it.
So
the
is
right way.
college STEM math class
Yes.
count for that transition class at Triton?
It places the student into a credit-bearing course at Triton, yes. So it removes them from needing to take a Dev Ed class for which they wouldn't get credit.
Right.
Just to kind of be up to par, yes.
So, I mean, that's a class that's not college credit, but it would save a student from having to take a class.
Yes. So it is, in a way, college credit, because if they didn't take it, then they would have to be taking that Dev Ed class when they got to Triton.
I hope counselors or advisors are helping students realize that.
Yes.
Because I think there are kids who don't know that.
Absolutely. And one of the things that Beth and I have talked about recently is there are some things like this, and I'm going to touch on the internships in a minute, that I'm going to work like a cheat sheet out for the counselors because they have a lot that they have to remember, and you know, this student, and I'm switching gears, and now it's sophomores and juniors, so that they have kind of the new things that we want to make sure that they highlight because they're our best resource in that face-to-face contact
And you
with
can
students.
see how a senior might not be motivated to take a fourth year of math if
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
have to.
Yes.
And then they get to try it in another school and they're like,
Wait, I have to
I
take
wish I
math
would've known.
again? Yes, exactly.
So I want to make sure I understand, on the college math.
Yes.
That is a current course.
Currently-
So you're not coming with a new course called college math. You're looking to repurpose current college math so it could be dual credit.
college algebra.
College
I'm sorry.
algebra.
Right, yeah.
College
Sort
algebra.
But
of.
you're repurposing it,
Yeah.
sort of.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what we're teaching right now, students sitting in college algebra right now, if we fast forwarded a year, we would call that class STEM math.
Okay.
So we are bringing back, we are repurposing the curriculum that we used to teach as college algebra. So it is bringing back another math class. There will be another math option.
Okay, so we're not.
As a result. That's why these are one on the proposed additions and one on the proposed
Yeah, yeah.
changes.
Okay, so I guess
why it's
that's,
kind of weird.
so my question, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So on these new courses, what type of enrollment are you looking for to gauge success? And I guess kind of part and parcel, this is a question I got to later in the day today, I'm sorry, is we obviously have classes in the curriculum guide that don't run on a yearly basis. So how do we, and I hear what you're saying about kind of eating their own
Sure,
a little bit.
sure.
But how do we make a determination of what the right head count is to run a class, and how do we encourage people to sign up for classes?
There's a board policy that we put in place about 8 years ago that in order for a course to run, they had to have over a minimum of 20 students. Anything below 20 students needed board approval. So what we usually bring to the board in March is, after we do the course selection process, we'll identify courses that are either AP courses, intervention courses for graduation, or the additional kids that may need additional interventions, or in this case, like a fourth year of math. And we bring those courses to the board and say we have 17 students signed up, and then we give you a rationale why we would think it's important for the board to approve. And then if the board wants to approve, they approve that, for that course to run under 20.
Okay, so I guess my question might be more of a chicken and egg question, right?
Okay.
So how does a student know to enroll in a course that hasn't run in a couple of years, right? If we know there's this unattainable 20, they are enrolling
We
in the
encourage
fall.
students to, when they pick their classes, to pick the classes where their interests lie and what they want to pursue. We do see some fluctuation in classes to where 1 year will run and 1 year it won't run. I think it was an AP music class that was like every other year, and it was also like calculus BC. That was, for a while there was, I thought my first year or two as superintendent, I thought we had some fluctuation in one of our math courses.
No, it was Spanish literature that is now taken off, but for a while, some years we would run in. Some
Like
years
every
we
other
wouldn't.
year.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to see, just over the last, whatever's the right time frame, 3 years, 4 years, which of these classes really are not running? And I think that's kind of...
4 years of consistency. Beth could be
Yes.
able to put together
Yeah.
that report. That wouldn't happen until springtime. Once we see, how many kids pick classes, because we'll get, maybe.
Do you pick classes now for next year? You don't wait till spring?
Yeah, our first registration
Right,
appointment
but
is
our freshmen
October
aren't done
18th.
picking until January.
Right.
So it's from
Right.
like October through like January.
Right, so it's a long, I
Long
guess,
process.
no, and I see what you're saying. I just think, again, back to my chicken and egg thought, is that if you, do counselors encourage people, yes, to pursue their interests, but if I know music, whatever the music class was, hasn't run last year or the
Right.
year before, I'm going to sit there and go, maybe I don't want to sign up for music class next year.
Sure.
The odds are it's going to mess up my schedule now. If I have to fill something else in afterwards, it's going to
Sure.
mess everything else up. So I guess just in the interest of transparency as they go through this process, as the students and their families go through this process, what are we really putting in the curriculum guide and what are we supporting in the curriculum guide? I'm trying to
So
get to.
we do always, the counselors are really, because so many of the counselors have been here for so long, and Beth has been here 16, 17 years, so they do know, like, we could rattle off to you what classes we struggle to run, right? Creative writing, debate, AP music theory, we can rattle those off to you easily. The student, for that reason, the students always have a second choice option that because the counselors do have that conversation with kids, because they know what has run and what hasn't run typically. So they're able to say to a student who says, I really want to be in AP Music Theory, like my whole life depends on being in AP Music Theory. A counselor is going to say to them, that class hasn't run since 2007. Something to that effect, so that they have that base of knowledge. But we can certainly, I can work with Beth to certainly take a look at that. And we also do try to, through this process, we have in the past deleted some courses out of the curriculum guide. For example, there was journalism was listed as a course, and we couldn't remember. There was no one in the room who could remember when that course had ever run. So we brought that to the Board of Education because we wanted to pull it out, so that we aren't saying to kids and families, "Hey, here are all these courses
Right, and
you
that's
can
my
take."
concern.
Ooh, wait, not those. We try to stay on top of that, but we can certainly look at the report too.
Is there a minimum we use with the instructional coaches? If it's 3 years or 5 years that we recommend to pull it off the curriculum guide?
There hasn't been like a hard and fast rule in the past since I got here, no. I mean, we could certainly talk about that, but there hasn't been there hasn't been any kind of formal language in place. There was one other question about one of the course additions, the Latin American History course, which is super exciting for us. This course was actually proposed by one of our special education teachers who has a degree also in history, Armando Venegas. So this is a course that we would consider, if we're going to run this course, if this is something that takes off, that is something we would want to tap Armando for, because we see that as a passion project, something that he brought forth. As you can see by the length of the proposal, there's a lot of research that went into it, right? So Armando is really, really conscious. This isn't a flippant idea. This is something that he's been considering for a long time. And then all of our course changes that are proposed there are 6 of them. They're really prerequisite changes. The music ones, we're pulling out a prerequisite saying that, anybody can join the jazz band and the orchestra. There doesn't need to be a prerequisite for that. The science courses are changing the instructional timeline a little bit, and so we want to be able to change that in the guide. And then some changes to the prerequisites in Clarion, because what we were noticing was happening in Clarion. It was one of those classes that we wanted to really make sure that we ran. And so it was like the Statue of Liberty, like, bring me you're tired, you're hungry, people who hate writing, don't care about the news, everyone. And then we started to realize, wait a minute, we should probably be a little bit more particular about, this just shouldn't be like anyone who wants to just show up and hang out on a computer all day, right? We wanted people who really wanted to contribute to the school newspaper, because it is, it is a very good publication. So those
How many-
changes were all pretty minor.
How many periods a day does it run now? Because it's saying
2.
it does run 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it does run 2 periods now, 2 full sections. I believe the first year that Mark was hired, which is the first year I was here, it was 1 period, and then since then it's been 2 every year.
Kylie, I know there weren't any questions submitted, but I think it's important to recognize the new class of summer internship.
Yes. So the summer internship course is ready to go on the books, and so I didn't put that on the sheet because it involves a lot of language. Essentially, in summary, students are now going to have an opportunity as they are approaching their junior or approaching their senior year to earn 0.5 credits of either applied arts elective credit or general elective credit through a summer internship. The information on that document that you have details, this would go directly in the curriculum guide, exactly how it looks here, and details the different areas that students can focus on, and what courses we have in the building that align to those particular fields, as well as an explanation of how students would get that internship credit. This is something that the Career and Internship Committee has really spent a lot of time looking at. How can we approach this and make this work for students? We're super excited about it. What I didn't include for you is the work that I've done with, and I can certainly provide it to anyone who's interested, the application paperwork, the agreement that students will have to have signed by the internship supervisor and parents, a sample letter that students could send to a business soliciting, hey, I want to come intern for you. Here's the language. kiddos. You can put it right out there. So we're very excited for that, and we would like to start offering that in the curriculum guide for this coming summer. I have a personal goal. Dr. Freitas and I just worked through my goals, and I have a personal goal of getting 10 kids in that internship this summer, so I can go to 10 different sites all summer long. I'm very excited, and we'll see. I'll let you know if it happens.
Can I just ask you, how do students find out about this? Because if they want to do a summer internship, they can't get a summer internship in like April.
Right.
Right? Like they're going to
Yes.
have to start now,
Yes.
start looking for that.
Yes. So as soon as the board says yes, I want to be
Then we'll
able to
start.
do e-blasts to
Okay,
families,
okay.
to students. I want to be able to get it in the hands of maybe our English department because they see every kid every day. I want to put it in our newsletter. I want to be able to tweet it out. I want to be able to just, as soon as you guys say we're go, I'm going.
out there.
And if we get 100 kids, I don't know what we're going to do, but that's a good problem to have.
That's- yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
You probably should think of a max, right? Because you
probably
have
should.
12-month administrators will probably be having to do some type of
Yes.
site visits.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
at some point, it's
Yeah,
gonna be
that's a good idea.
The
Yep.
rationale of like, you
Yep.
know,
Right.
a cap.
Yes.
I have a question before we move on.
Oh, sure.
Okay. But while you're doing interns, I want to go back to the math question. So when you're done with the interns, we're good there?
I think we're good.
So Kylie, going back to the math class, that will suffice or will meet the requirement for the, it's kind of like the prerequisite to get college credit for a math class at Triton. Triton gives, and most colleges give, a placement test, but it's after the student graduates over the summer. And then they're there freshman year, and they're taking classes that don't count towards their degree
Paying tuition.
and paying tuition. Is there any way that we can work with Triton where those students could take that the summer after their junior year, and then then they would be like, no, I want to do that my senior year?
The placement test, I mean, we've been working on this with the DVR cooperative and with Triton for a long time.
Okay,
It's they use their placement test score or the math portion of their ACT
I was gonna say,
or
couldn't
SAT.
we use,
So we
just-
could use your junior year scores to see if
They
you.
could like flag you based
Correct.
on what score you got, and the counselor can say, because you scored X, Y, or Z, here's an option for you.
Correct.
That's a good point.
because I know as a parent, your kid has a B in class, nothing's more frustrating than you're paying for 3 classes that don't count towards their degree.
Especially when you're like, wait, they had a B. I thought they
Yeah,
were
they had
there.
decent
Yeah.
grades, what do you mean, this
One of the
semester's
things
a
we've been
bust?
going back and
Yeah.
forth on for a long time, and Kristen and Kylie can speak to this a little bit. I tried to echo their message at our DVR cooperative is the cut scores. So you would, for a long time, you know, ACT would say a 21 in math or a 22 in math. I'm not sure if this is the accurate number, but they would say that's college ready or considered to be college ready. But then in order to take a class for credit at Triton, it was like 23 or 24.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 points higher than what ACT was saying. So there was a lot of work done to try to get it to be equivalent to what the same standards that ACT and the College Board were saying. So when students pass those tests, they wouldn't have to take the developmental ed course or the developmental math course at Triton.
But now we're using SAT, and so assuming there's an equivalent with the SAT?
Right.
Okay. Okay. I think if we could close that
Thank you.
gap, it'd be a huge service to our families.
Right, this is also becoming law, like
Right.
between the Illinois Community College Board, I think it's the ICCB, and state legislators. I mean, they're working on something so that there are some, we're working on actually, Kristen and I, on like a partnership agreement with our math courses and some of our dual credit courses. So that kids can get dual credit, what the fees will be and some things like that. So this is all a big process.
Thank you.